Okay, this is video 2 of how to develop a pattern for cylinders that are intersecting at an oblique angle. Now we found the line of intersection between the two cylinders. Now all we have to do is do our development, and the intersection line between the two cylinders is key because it really helps us with the rest of the development, and it has to be done in that order. Now, as far as whether you do the angled cylinder next or the vertical, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to work on the vertical cylinder first. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that line and move it over, and then I will click on the properties, and I want to find out the circumference of that circle, which is 15.7080, and then I will offset by that amount. Okay. Now I will use the divide command. I want to divide this bottom line by 12. Okay. And then I will just you could also use the array command if you wanted to try to divide it that way. Okay. It would be a rectangular array if you decided to try that. Okay, so what I will do now, this is the layout of that vertical cylinder, and I think I will just I'll call the middle line, this one, magenta, okay, because that's magenta. Alright, and you can see in this one the line on each side of that is blue, so I'll do the same thing here. Then green, okay, and then back to red. Alright, and from these intersection points that we developed earlier, I will draw a line straight out, and let me snap to all those intersection points: blue and blue, green and green, red and red, green and green, blue and blue, and magenta and magenta. And then I will match properties. Okay. So now we're working our way through this. Now, if I look at the top of this object here, I think I want to start at the magenta line. Okay, so magenta crosses magenta here in the middle, and then we go to blue. Okay, and you can go in either direction, and then following around green, just following down the line of intersection between the two cylinders, and then red. Okay. Actually, I need to use a spline for that. I apologize. So magenta, blue, green, red, and then we go back to green, blue, and magenta. So green, blue, and magenta. Okay, and then we go back up the other side: blue, green, red, green, blue, magenta, and then enter 3 times. Now, sometimes students want to go from this point around back to magenta and then just mirror across. Now, I remind you that a spline is actually a best fit line. You may remember from algebra that you can produce certain polynomials to fit lines or curved lines to a specific set of points, and sometimes the higher the exponent, the better the fit of the line, so on and so forth. Well, that's what AutoCAD's actually doing for you. So if you only do half of the points and then mirror it across, it does change the shape of the object a little bit, not much, but it does change it somewhat. Okay, so let me copy out this. Okay, that is the development for the vertical cylinder. Okay, so now we'll work on the angled cylinder. So what I want to do is select L and enter, PER, enter, and I just want to draw a line perpendicular to this bottom edge here, okay, which is also perpendicular to these projection lines. But I can move it, okay, and then I will copy to where this line, the projection line and that edge intersect, okay. And again, we'll use match properties. Okay, and then L, enter, PER, enter. Okay, and we'll draw a line that is perpendicular to those lines. Just trim off what I probably won't need, and then I will copy one of these lines, it doesn't matter which, to all the intersection points that I used for the previous development. Okay, green, red, green, blue, magenta, and again I will use match properties. So that was already magenta, but I'll make this one blue, this one green, red, green, blue, and that one's already magenta. And I will extend this perpendicular line down, trim off the excess, make sure everything's trimmed and extended to the right places, and I will check the circumference of that circle is going to be the same as the previous one, 15.7080, so I will offset by that amount. Okay, now you can see that came up really close to my development, but it's actually okay. If I wanted to, just to avoid any confusion, let me just offset this one by a distance of 5 and erase that one and extend those lines to that one further away. That might help out. And then I will offset again 7.080. Okay, so now it gave me a little bit of space in here. Okay, and now I'll show you a little trick. I'll draw a polyline from this point to this point. Okay, then I will use MA, and I want it the same color as the line I drew on top of. Okay, so I have two lines on top of one another, but now I'll use the divide command and divide that into 12 equal segments again. And the reason I did that is because if I would try to use the divide command on this, it would try to divide the entire length, but since I drew that line on top, I was able to divide that short segment. So now I can erase that line if I want to. If I don't, it's no big deal. Copy one of these lines here, okay. So I'm going to match some properties again.